It's great to be in Fort Kent again, if only electronically today. I was there not long ago at the Can-Am on the dog sled. Somebody just sent me a picture of my riding the dog sled down Main Street, but the only problem was I was holding on pretty tight. It looked like I was holding on for dear life. Maybe it looked like that because I was. Who wants to fall off a dog sled in the front of 2,000 or 3,000 people? It was a great experience. I love to come to Fort Kent and love to be in the Valley, and I want to congratulate the students, the scholars who are at the symposium today for the work that you've done at the university, for the accomplishments that you've had, for the recognition that you're getting. And I think the topic you're talking about is incredibly important. Part of my work down here is on the Senate Intelligence Committee, and for the past year and a half, I've been deeply involved in the Russia investigation. And there are a lot of aspects to it, monkeying around the Russians with our state election systems, hacking emails, releasing them through WikiLeaks, all kinds of ways they were finding to mess around, to upset our democratic and electoral system. But one of the ways that they did that frankly has become much more apparent in the last few months as we've really dug into this was the use of fake information, of misinformation, disinformation on Facebook, on Twitter, on social media. It was a massive and very sophisticated campaign. And we're spending a lot of time down here trying to figure out how best to deal with that. How to deal, we've had, as you know, we've had hearings with Mr. Zuckerberg at Facebook. We had a hearing a few months ago with people from Google and Twitter as well as Facebook, talking about, what can we do? What are the law? What are anything we can do in the way of changing laws, requiring more information to be displayed? For example, a simple thing to me is if there's a political ad on Facebook, it should have a disclaimer on the bottom as to who paid for it. The same as is required if the ad appears on television or in a newspaper. Those are kind of simple things. But as we've worked through this, and as I've studied the subject and talked to people in other parts of the world that have dealt with this, the one thing that keeps coming through is that the best defense is for the people to understand when they're being misled. In the spring of 2016, in March, before our presidential election, before anyone heard about Russian hacking or any of that kind of thing, I went with members of the Intelligence Committee to the Ukraine and Poland. And in those countries, when we talked to local leaders and intelligence community and military people, Russian meddling in their elections and democratic system was on the top of their list of problems. And they basically warned us. They said, look, this happens all the time here. You better look out. And frankly, we didn't take it as seriously as we should have. We didn't know what was going to be coming in about 6 months. Flash forward a few months, and there was a meeting here in the Capitol with a group of political and intelligence leaders from Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania, the Baltic states that are right on Russia's border. They said the same thing. I got there late for the meeting, and all the other senators had left, so I ended up having about a half hour with this group just by myself so I could ask questions. And we talked about, they were coming at them with propaganda through television outlets and certainly on the internet. The question I asked was, okay, how do you defend yourself? You can't unplug the internet. You can't knock TV off the air. What do you do? And they said, Senator, the best defense that we've found is when our public knows what's going on and they say, oh, it's just the Russians again. And that's, I hope, what you're going to be talking about today is how we as consumers of information can do a better job of understanding and distinguishing good information from bad information. Simple things like if there's something that comes through your email that looks like it's hard to believe that, Obama did this or Trump did that, check it out on Snopes.com. That's my go-to website to try to get what the facts are. But there are a lot of different techniques, which I think you're going to be talking about over the next day or so, about how we can moderate or ameliorate the dangers of this misinformation, because in the end, our whole system rests upon an informed citizenry. Think about that for a minute. An informed citizenry, not a misinformed citizenry. And if we as consumers of information are taken in by propaganda and disinformation, we can't make good decisions. We can't elect good leaders. We can't follow up on good policies if we don't have the facts. And if we are in fact being filled up with things that aren't facts, but in fact are falsehoods. So I consider the topic of your symposium one of the most important things that you could be studying this year. And again, we can work on it here in Washington. And if ideas come out of things that we can do, rules that we might be able to impose that would help this situation without putting the heavy hand of government on the internet or on the restraining the First Amendment. But I think in the end, the only real long-term solution is for all of us to become better consumers of information, more critical, if you will, of what we're being told, and learn how to separate the falsehoods from the truth and the fact from the fiction, and how to use that information to make good decisions. What you're doing is important. It's important for your community, for the university, but it's also important for the country. And I hope one of the things you're going to do is publish some results of this symposium and send them down to me so that I can use them here in my work and take the good ideas and share them with my colleagues. This is a new issue that has really burst upon us in the last couple of years, and it's not going to go away. It's only, in my view, going to get worse over the next couple of years, leading up to the 2020 presidential election. And we've got to get to the place where people can't mislead us so easily. So, thanks for what you're doing. Congratulations on what you're doing. It's important. Have a great conference, and I look forward to hearing about the results. And by the way, I really liked being on that dog sled, and I liked making it to the end of the run. Great to see you. Have a great spring in the St. John Valley.